Hey my beautiful souls, welcome back to Finding with Jessie, the life coach. For those who it's your first time here, my name is Jessie. I am a life coach and I do videos on organizing our space, so organizing our minds, so organizing our emotions, and focusing on balancing out our mental health to make sure we're managing it so we can go towards our goals. So if it's your first time here with me, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and definitely become part of our tribe. So my beautiful souls, today we are going to be speaking about the risk factors and the signs of anxiety. Mental health is super important. A lot of people are not really being reflective and paying attention and managing their mental health, and I just wanted to highlight that today because it is super important. Our mental health is everything. Without it, we have nothing. So we want to make sure that we are staying in alignment. And today I wanted to cover some of the risk factors. I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware, but anxiety, one of the biggest risk factors with anxiety is being female, being a woman. Women are more affected and more prone to anxiety than men. Another risk factor is if you are under the age of 40. And if you have been exposed or you have been dealing or you have witnessed trauma. And the thing is with trauma is that trauma is a long list. There's a lot of things that can be very traumatic in our lives, right? Anything from a job loss to money issues, which is big right now because we are in the middle of COVID. Death, dealing with health issues, dealing with illness, dealing with natural disasters, right? Disasters that have happened to us, witnessing accidents or being a part of accidents, motor vehicle accidents, all different types of accidents, divorce, relationship issues, breakups, all those things are considered traumatic in our lives, and they all can contribute to anxiety. And so that literally takes us all out of the list, to be honest, because I think we have all dealt with that at one point or another. And that's why I was like, you know what, this video is important because I believe everybody will be dealing with anxiety at one point or another. I myself had to deal with it about 2 to 3 years ago. It was the first time I ever had anxiety, and I had it to an extreme, excessive amount. So today we are going to be speaking about the signs so you can make sure that you are managing it so it doesn't escalate, right? And one of the signs that you deal with when you're dealing with anxiety is going to be excessive worrying, right? So worrying over and over and over and over to the point that you are ruminating on things and you can't get out of the cycle. That's a big sign of anxiety. Keeping in that category of excessive worrying is overthinking. So overthinking everything, right? Before you had anxiety, you might have had an issue, or someone might come to you with a problem, or you have, problems, and you were able to find solutions very quickly, right? You were able to act. You weren't overthinking scenarios. But when you are in the midst of anxiety, you are going to be overthinking to the point that once again you can't get out of cycles, and it's hard for you to take action and make movement and move towards what you want to do. So that's a big sign of anxiety. So in that category of excessive worrying and overthinking is going to be racing thoughts. So you'll notice when you're dealing with anxiety, or if you are monitoring it, observing it in someone else, they're going to have racing thoughts, right? So it's going to be thoughts jumping around, not finishing sentences, not finishing your thought process, right? Going from one thing to another, and you can't follow either the thought process or you cannot follow the conversation. So it's going to come out as very fast moving thoughts and very fast speech, right? So if it's you and you're dealing with it, the racing thoughts is going to be like, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this, and I need to do this. And then you start one project and run to this, and then start this and don't finish that. And then, so those are all signs of anxiety. And that brings me to the next sign of restlessness. So when you are dealing with anxiety, you deal with two components, restlessness and fatigue. And the funny thing about that is they're very opposing, right? They're opposing energies. But when you're dealing with anxiety, you're going to have both. So when you deal with the part of the fatigue that comes in when you're dealing with anxiety is because majority of the time when you're dealing with anxiety, you cannot sleep. You're having a hard time getting rest. You're having a hard time sleeping at night. And that's because you are excessive worrying, right? You have excessive worrying. You have all these racing thoughts. You're overthinking. So your mind is preoccupied. It's all over the place. So it's hard for you to get rest when you are in that state. So a lot of the fatigue is going to come in because a lot of people don't realize that mental capacity, right? All those mental parts, that takes up a lot of energy. It takes up a lot of energy, and it basically it leaves us depleted, and then it brings in the fatigue. So you feel very tired and you're not getting rest. But at the same time, you're not getting rest. But when you get out of that bed and you start moving, you're very restless. Because majority of the time you are aware that you have those racing thoughts. You are aware that you're not getting anything done. You are aware that you're jumping from thing to thing to thing. You are aware that you have all this stuff to do. And that's when the restlessness comes in, where you can't sit still. You can't stay still. You're jumping from thing to thing to thing. You get these impulsive like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to do this, right? So you're very restless. It's hard for you to stay still, right? And that brings me to my next area that usually comes in when we are speaking about anxiety, which is poor concentration and lack of focus. So those two things come in as well when you're dealing with anxiety, right? Because you're so restless and you have all this other stuff going on in the background, going on in your mind, it's hard for you to focus. You can't focus on one thing. How can you focus when your mind is not stable, is not grounded, right? It's all over the place. So focusing is going to be a hard thing for you, and poor concentration is going to be another. And you'll notice this in little things. Like let's say you're traveling somewhere. You go outside to go do an errand, and then in the car, in the midst of your traveling, you forget your exit, or you forget what you went to do. You forget what you went to go pick up, the errand that you went to do. So things like that, right? They come out very hidden, but those are indications that you are suffering from anxiety, right? That you're having a hard time focusing on what you need to focus on. You know what? Your thoughts are running away with you. So poor concentration or difficulty concentrating and staying focused is going to be big when you are monitoring your anxiety levels. When you start seeing these things and start seeing all these signs, it means that you need to start managing your mental health, because you are suffering from forms of anxiety, right? And they creep up on us. They literally creep up on you. They start very slow and you think, oh, what's going on with me today? And then it just gets heightened and heightened and heightened and heightened into the point that it can become unmanageable. The thing is with anxiety, when we speak about anxiety, there's many levels. It's a spectrum. You can have, mild forms of anxiety, and you could go all the way up into panic attacks. So there's all these different types of forms of anxiety. And when you start noticing the signs, it's so important to make sure that you start managing your anxiety, right? Start managing your stress, start tackling it, because it can get out of control. And so, my beautiful souls, I just wanted to come on here and just remind you of the signs, remind you of the factors that make you predisposed to anxiety, because it's super important to make sure that we are aware. And not only are we aware, but we also know the signs and know how to manage our anxiety. So I'm going to be doing a few videos on how to manage your anxiety, little things that you can do, little things that you can implement to make sure that we are staying nice and balanced. Because when you start bringing in anxiety usually is connected to stress, and if you don't manage your anxiety, it usually leads to depression. So we want to make sure, once again, that we are managing our anxiety levels. Is super important, especially if you're dealing with any type of dramatic situation that has come in and swept up and made your life unbalanced, right? Those are big parts of why we need and want to make sure that we are managing our anxiety. And my beautiful souls, that is all I have for you today, but I will see you in my next one. I'm sending you all love and light, kisses and smooches, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.